We begin this Sunday morning with America's economic security is national security. The Trump administration releasing its annual National Security Strategy Report, highlighting threats from China and Russia, while also leveling criticism at NATO allies, including Europe, which the administration says will be unrecognizable in the coming 20 years if the current open migration policy continues to erode national identities. The report questioning, quote, whether certain European countries will have economies and militaries strong enough to remain reliable allies. Many of these nations are currently doubling down on their present path, unquote. The president using tariffs, defense deals, and personal diplomacy abroad, while pushing tax cuts, deregulation, and a manufacturing and energy renaissance here at home. This upcoming week, the president is expected to begin an economic road trip to tout his affordability and economic policy successes as corporate America increasingly partners with the Trump administration on issues over national security. And joining me now from the Reagan National Defense Forum in Simi Valley, California, at the Reagan Library, is the chairman and CEO of JPMorgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. Jamie, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Maria, I'm thrilled to be here.
And it's great to be able to talk with you from the Reagan Defense Forum about this big news that your company released recently, that you've launched a $1.5 trillion security and resiliency initiative to boost critical industries. Tell me a little about what your objective is here and what industries you deem as most important for the U.S. economy that you'd like to invest in.
Right. So, it's become pretty obvious, particularly since the invasion of Ukraine, that national security is critical, not just for us, but for a lot of countries. And if you had any illusion that the world was going to be peaceful for the rest of our lives, hopefully it was shattered. And, at that point, people realized, I heard from military officers, I heard from companies, we didn't have enough production capability to make the bombs that we needed to ship. We had rare earths. You've already heard about the rare earth problem. We rely on China. And it's not just about China, but we rely on single parties for things we need for F-35s and nuclear submarines. And we rely on China for something like 90% of the ingredients go into our pharmaceuticals and 90% of our penicillin. And again, it's not all about China. It's about the United States needs to have security and resiliency about things for security that we can rely on. This year we said, what can JPMorgan do? So it's literally, and we broke it out into 27 very detailed categories. So it's rare earths, of which there are many, by the way. It's lithium. It's the medical ingredients. It's drones. It's satellites. It's cyber. It's even education in some cases about what we need to do to get the workforce. In some cases, just having the backup resiliency.
And Jamie, of course, this weekend at the Defense Forum, China is going to be one of the key topics there. I want to get your take on how you're managing things, of course, as one of the most important banks in the world, JPMorgan, certainly in America. How do you manage the China threat?
Now, if you look at what we're doing in China, we bank, I think, 3,000 multinationals in China. So these are a lot of companies, some of whom are going to be here, and so we kind of have clients, this network of clients. We try to be very careful, but, we're not going to violate American national security policy.
Would you walk away from a deal, from an IPO, if you felt that that company was assisting the People's Liberation Army?
Well, it depends what you mean by assisting the People's Liberation Army, but the answer is, would we walk away from a deal? Absolutely. We don't have to chase any deal or any client, something like that. But then you have to define assisting. Is that food, sneakers, or is it military equipment? So if it's assisting military equipment, absolutely. And presumably that would be on the sanction list of the United States government. If it's something that's kind of innocuous, no, we're not going to walk away from that company. If the United States government decided that we should, then we would. And I should point out, our government is fully engaging with China. And, I appreciate that. They should engage. We shouldn't be afraid of them. I'm not afraid of China. I think what we need to do is make sure we're secure.
And Jamie, obviously, national security is economic security and vice versa. I want to get your take on what your sense is of the 2026 economy, what to expect in the year ahead. What is your sense of the broader macro story for the year ahead, Jamie?
So I'll give you short-term and long-term, though. in the short run, it looks like the American consumer is doing fine, is chugging along, companies are making profits, stock markets are high, and that could easily continue. There are a little small negatives, like jobs are weakening, but just a little bit. Inflation is there and maybe not going down.
We're just coming off of the longest shutdown in history. And of course, the Securities and Exchange Commission was shut down. I wonder what kind of an impact that had on IPOs, on capital markets, businesses for you.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say shutdowns are stupid. They damage America. They shouldn't happen. And we got to figure a way not to have these things happen. You can blame Democrats or Republicans. Their intramurals are damaging 300 million Americans. And I think that's just dead wrong for any reason. But yeah, so what did it do with IPOs? Well, IPOs basically stopped for, I forgot, 30 days or whatever it was. But the markets are wide open. The IPO backlog is huge. The debt backlog is huge. The M&A backlog is huge. Yes, they're all going to come, but I'll give you a proviso. Pipelines are like accordions. They open and close. So whenever people ask us, the investor community asks us, what's the pipeline? I say, we'll tell you the pipeline, but don't assume that it closes. If the markets get south, if we go into recession, those things can close pretty quickly.
Jamie, what's your sense of jobs? Because here I think there's a little more nuance to the story. It's not just about the macro story. Now you've got to look at artificial intelligence and the fact that AI is creating efficiencies to the extent that it is cutting jobs. What is your plan to ensure that Americans are ready for this new revolution that's underway with AI?
Yeah. So I think before you do AI, jobs have gotten a little weaker, wages have gotten a little weaker. And when you talk to businesses, they're going to be a little more cautious hiring. That's not because of AI. That's just because they want to do more with less, and they look at their order books, et cetera. And look, I don't think AI is going to dramatically reduce jobs like unbelievably next year. And for the most part, AI is going to do great stuff for mankind, like tractors did, like fertilizers did, like vaccines did. It'll save lives. We'll be working. Maybe one day we'll be working less hard, but having wonderful lives. So it'll cure a lot of cancers. It'll have composite materials. Now, of course, it needs to be properly regulated. There are downsides to AI, just like there are to airplanes, pharmaceuticals, cars. All things get used by bad people. So assuming that the government figured out some way to put guardrails around AI, but it will eliminate jobs. That doesn't mean that people won't have other jobs. My advice to people would be, critical thinking. Learn skills, learn your EQ, learn how to be good at a meeting, how to communicate, how to write. You'll have plenty of jobs. And if it does happen too fast for society, which is possible, we can't assimilate all those people that quickly. Like if you look at, what happened in farms and the internet and electricity, it took a while. This may be a little bit longer, and it'll be a little harder to assimilate people. If we can't, we, government, and we, the companies, society should look at how do we phase it in a way that we don't damage a lot of people. Like we should have done a little bit more on trade assistance years ago when you had a town that got damaged by the closure of a plant. And that you can do. You can, retrain people, relocate people, income assistance, early retirement. And the next job may be a better job, but they have to learn how to do the job. And as you know, skills are, you can earn quite a bit of money with skills. If you look at this year, you have a huge amount of construction that needs to take place. And to do that construction, you need roads and trucks and drivers. You need servers, you need fiber, you need all that. So it's going to cause probably more jobs in the short run in total.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the fact that we're going to need more electricians and plumbers and, like you said, those trade schools. But, Jamie, I guess what I'm asking is, are we going to see any return on investment on all this money anytime soon? I mean, Jensen Huang told me that we're talking about trillions of dollars every year going into the build-out of data centers. I mean, look at all these data centers that we have actually seen built in America. I mean, at this point, we've got about 5,000 data centers that have built for AI. When you add up all this money, all this trillions of dollars, where's the return on investment, Jamie?
So I think I heard, I haven't read it yet, but I heard we did a research report about how much. It's $5 trillion, and that includes everything: the data centers, the servers, the chips, the fiber. It doesn't necessarily include the power plant or the transmission lines, and then we were going through today, like where's the money going to come from? Public, private credit, specialized type of finance, asset-backed securities. There will be big winners. You remember out of the internet, you got Google and Facebook and Amazon and tons of others and whole new technologies. And but it took a while for some other things to come in, like the iPhone or something. So here, it will eventually pay off.
Look, Jamie, before you go, I've got to ask you about the special counsel, the former special counsel, Jack Smith, and that Arctic frost investigation, Jamie, because we had Devin Nunes on this program, former chairman of the Intelligence Committee, who said your bank was subpoenaed to give his bank records up, and he was upset about it. Here's what he said on this program just a few weeks ago. Watch this.
When the Arctic frost went after our bank records at Trump Media, that's inexplicable because we didn't exist. So what reason did they have to go after us? And I've seen Jamie Dimon and others at JPMorgan say this over and over again, that they don't debank people for political reasons. Well, then why the hell did you debank Trump Media?
Jamie, what do you want to say about that? Did you send over the bank records of Devin Nunes or Trump supporters to the special counsel when he wanted that information?
People have to grow up here, okay, and stop making up things and stuff like that. So, and I can't talk about an individual account. We do not debank people's religious or political affiliations. We do debank them. They have religious and political affiliation. We debank people who are Democrats. We debank people who are Republicans. We've debanked different religious folks. Never was that for that reason. And that's number one. Number two is I don't like debanking people. We live under very strict rules and regulations and requirements, and to protect the country, and we have to report things to the government. We're required to report things to the government. I can't even tell you when we do it, because I'm not going to tell you that either. And so I want to change these rules. I actually applaud the Trump administration, who's trying to say the debanking's bad, and we should change the rules. Well, damn it, I've been asking to change the rules now for 15 years. So change the rules. And, and that's why a lot of this stuff takes place. It is really customer unfriendly. And, we're debanking people because of suspected things or negative media or all these various things. So, and the last thing, which is really important, we don't give information to the government just because they ask. We're subpoenaed. We are required by court to give it to the government. And I've been following subpoenas with this administration, the last administration, the administration before that, and the one before that. And I don't agree with a lot of the government does a lot of things that get angry at banks. So let's just take a deep breath and fix the problems as opposed to blame someone who's put in that position. So and we've been quite clear about this. We've given recommendations to the government how they can fix it, how we can change the rules and regulations to dramatically reduce reporting and debanking and things like that. And I would tell the government, if we see something that might possibly be bad, we'll report it to you, and you decide. Why do we have to decide?
Right.
And that's the position we're put in.
I mean, as someone who's covered global business for so many years and now covers politics as well as policy so closely, I have a problem with, the special counsel taking advantage of corporate America to use corporate America to do their dirty work. Because it wasn't just the banks. It was also the telecom companies. Don't forget, they sent subpoenas to Verizon and AT&T to get phone records of Trump supporters. I mean, a political witch hunt. So that's why I think our viewers, want to understand how this happens.
Yeah, well, that is not me. That's your courts and government and stuff like that. But the government, Democratic and Republican governments have come after us both. So let's not act like this is just one side doing this. This has been going on for a long time, and we should stop, militarizing the government that kind of way.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.